The Galactic Council Chamber was the most powerful place in the known galaxy. It was not just a room. It was a symbol of control. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in a perfect circle, each one representing a different world, a different species, a different power. Some were tall and thin with glowing eyes. Some were covered in armor-like skin. Others looked calm, almost peaceful, but their fleets could destroy entire planets. Above them, a massive transparent dome showed the endless darkness of space. Stars flickered in the distance, silent and cold. No one spoke, because today was unusual. At the center of the chamber stood one human, alone. No guards, no advisors, no weapons. Just a man in a simple, dark uniform. His posture was straight. His face was calm. His eyes moved slowly, observing every corner of the chamber. He was not rushed. He was not afraid. And that made everyone uncomfortable. Humans were new. Too new. They had only recently joined the wider galaxy. Their technology was decent, but nothing special. Their fleets were small compared to the massive armadas of older species. To most of the council, humans were not important. So, why was one of them standing here? The silence stretched longer. Finally, the council leader moved. He was a tall being, his skin smooth and silver, his eyes glowing faintly with a cold blue light. When he spoke, his voice echoed across the chamber, without effort. "Human," he said, slowly and clearly, "you requested this emergency meeting." Every eye turned toward the man. "Speak." The human did not bow. That alone caused a small ripple in the chamber. Most species bowed. It was tradition. It showed respect. But the human simply stood there, calm, still. Then he took one step forward. "I did not come here to ask," he said. His voice was steady. Not loud, not weak, just controlled. A few council members shifted in their seats. Not ask. Then why was he here? The human continued. "I came here to warn you." For a moment, there was silence. Then, laughter. It started small, from one side of the chamber. A low, amused sound. Then another joined. And another. Within seconds, multiple alien leaders were laughing. A human giving a warning? It was almost insulting. One of the larger species leaned forward, its deep voice filled with mockery. "You? Warning us," it said. "Your species has barely survived its own world." More laughter followed. The human did not react. He did not argue. He did not raise his voice. He simply waited. And slowly, the laughter faded. Because something felt wrong. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't angry. He was patient, like he knew something they didn't. The council leader raised his hand, and the chamber fell silent again. "Explain yourself," he said. The human nodded slightly. Then, without turning, he lifted his hand. Suddenly, the air in the center of the chamber lit up. A hologram appeared. A massive star map. Systems glowed in different colors. Lines connected them like a web. At first, it looked normal. Then the human made a small movement. The map changed. Several systems turned red. Then more. And more. The chamber grew quiet. These were not random points. They were war zones. Destroyed fleets. Lost colonies. Entire systems gone. "These," the human said, his voice still calm, "are your losses." No one laughed now. Everyone was watching. The council leader leaned forward slightly. "Continue." The human moved his hand again. Another layer appeared on the map. A pattern. Clear. Sharp. Impossible to ignore. The red systems were not random. They formed a path. A direction. A plan. "These attacks," the human said, "are not chaos." He paused. "They are strategy." A cold feeling spread through the chamber. Because everyone knew who this was about. The Karen Empire. A name that carried fear. They were strong, ruthless, patient. And they were winning. "You are losing this war," the human said. No emotion, just fact. A low murmur spread among the council members. Some looked angry. Others worried. The council leader's glowing eyes narrowed. "And what," he asked slowly, "does your young species know about war?" The human finally turned his head slightly, meeting his gaze. Enough, he said, to survive one. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. The human stepped closer to the center of the hologram. The blue light reflected in his eyes. You think this is far away, he continued. You think it will take time. He shook his head. It won't.
He pointed at the map.
The red path was moving closer, system by system, step by step, toward the core worlds, toward the council itself. They are not just attacking, the human said. They are closing in. No one spoke. For the first time, fear touched the room. Then one of the council members spoke sharply. If this is true, it said, why come here? What do you want? The human lowered his hand. The hologram faded slightly, but the red systems still glowed. He looked around the chamber again. At every face. At every leader. And then he smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was not warm. It was confident. And that made it even more dangerous. We are not here to beg, he said. The words echoed.
Clear. Strong.
Final. A pause followed. No one moved. No one interrupted. Then the human took one last step forward. We are not asking for protection, he continued. Another pause. The tension in the room grew tight. Almost unbearable. Then he said the words that changed everything. We are here to tell you. He locked eyes with the council leader. We're joining the war. The chamber went completely silent. No laughter. No whispers. Nothing. Just the quiet hum of the stars outside. And for the first time, the Galactic Council did not see a weak species. They saw a threat. For a long moment, no one spoke. The human's final words still echoed inside the vast chamber. We're joining the war. The silence felt heavy, almost unnatural. Then, it broke. A sharp, loud laugh came from the right side of the chamber. One of the larger alien leaders leaned back in his seat, his thick armored skin shifting as he moved. Joining the war? He repeated, amused. You speak as if you were invited. More voices followed. This is madness. A young species with no power dares to make demands? They will be erased before they even arrive. The chamber filled with noise again, but this time it was different from before. It was louder, harsher, more aggressive. But the human, he did not move. He stood exactly where he was, hands relaxed at his sides, eyes calm. Watching, waiting. The council leader slowly raised his hand again. The noise stopped. His glowing blue eyes fixed on the human. You speak with confidence, he said, his voice colder now. But confidence without power is foolishness. A small pause. Tell me, human, why should we take you seriously? Every eye turned back to the lone figure. This was the moment. Most would hesitate.
Most would try to defend themselves.
Most would show weakness. But not him. Because, the human said simply, you don't have a choice. A ripple of anger moved through the chamber. Several leaders leaned forward, their expressions turning sharp. Careful, one of them warned. You are standing in the center of the most powerful alliance in existence. The human nodded slightly. I know exactly where I am. Then you understand what we can do to your species, another voice added. Yes, the human replied calmly. You can ignore us. That answer confused them. It wasn't fear. It wasn't defiance. It was something else. And that, the human continued, would be your final mistake. The chamber grew tense again. The council leader leaned forward slightly, studying him more carefully now. You speak in threats, he said. Yet you bring no fleet, no army, no display of strength. Another pause. Only words. The human smiled faintly. Words are enough, he said. That answer annoyed many of them, but it also made them curious. The council leader decided to test him. Very well, he said. If you wish to be taken seriously, then prove your value. A soft glow appeared around the chamber. Multiple holographic screens activated at once. Data streams. Fleet numbers. War simulations. The council was not just powerful, they were precise. Tell us, the leader continued. How many ships does your species possess? The human answered without hesitation. Not enough to win a direct fight. A few leaders smirked. At least he admits it, one whispered. The council leader continued. Then how many battle-ready commanders do you have? Less than yours, the human replied calmly. More quiet laughter. Resources? Another leader asked. Limited. Now the smirks grew wider. To them, this was already over. Weak fleet. Few commanders. Limited resources. This human had just proven their point. The council leader leaned back slightly. And yet, he said, you stand here and speak of joining a war you cannot win. The human tilted his head slightly. Who said anything about fighting your way? He asked. That question made several leaders pause. The human slowly walked toward the center of the chamber again. His boots made a soft sound against the polished floor. We don't win wars the way you do, he said. The council watched him closely now. No one interrupted. You build bigger fleets, the human continued. You use more firepower, more ships, more destruction.
He stopped.
Then he looked up at the holographic systems still floating in the air. And yet, you are losing. That line hit harder than before. Because it was true. The council leader's eyes narrowed. Explain, he demanded. The human raised his hand again. The hologram changed. This time, it zoomed in. Closer. More detailed. Supply routes appeared. Energy transfers. Fleet movements. Things the council already had data on, but had never fully connected. You are fighting the wrong war, the human said. Silence. One of the leaders shook his head. That is impossible, he said. We have analyzed every battle. The human looked at him. No, he said. You analyzed every fight. A pause. But you never understood the game. That line sent a wave of unease through the chamber. Because now, it didn't feel like a discussion anymore. It felt like a lesson. The council leader leaned forward again, his voice sharper. Then enlighten us, he said. The human didn't respond immediately. Instead, he moved his hand slowly. The hologram shifted again. Lines connected different systems. Patterns formed.
Clear.
Simple. Terrifying. A path of control. The Karen Empire wasn't just attacking. They were controlling movement, resources, timing. They are not stronger than you, the human said quietly. Another pause. They are smarter. No one spoke, because for the first time, that idea made sense. One of the older council members spoke, his voice lower now. If what you say is true, he hesitated. Then why show us this? The human turned toward him. Because you still have time, he said. A small pause. Then he added, but not much. The room felt colder. The council leader stood up slowly. His full height was now visible, making him even more imposing. And what, he asked, does your species gain from this? This was the question that mattered. Power always came with a price. The human didn't answer immediately. He looked around the chamber one more time. At the leaders. At the fear slowly growing behind their eyes. Then he spoke. We gain survival, he said. A pause. And something more. The council waited. The human's expression didn't change. We gain a place in the future that comes after this war. The chamber fell silent again. Because now they understood. This was not just a warning. This was a move. A calculated step. And suddenly, that lone human in the center of the chamber didn't look weak anymore. He looked dangerous. The chamber did not return to noise this time. No laughter. No quick insults. Only silence. But it was not the same silence as before. This one was heavier. Careful. Watching. The Galactic Council was no longer dismissing the human. Now they were studying him. The council leader remained standing, his glowing eyes fixed on the lone figure below. You claim we are fighting the wrong war, he said slowly. And yet you have not told us how to fight the right one. The human did not answer immediately. Instead, he turned back toward the massive holographic map. The red systems still glowed like wounds across the galaxy. For a moment, he simply looked at them. Then he spoke. You are looking at destruction, he said. But you should be looking at intention. A few council members exchanged uncertain glances. The human raised his hand again. The map shifted. The red systems dimmed slightly, and new symbols appeared. Small, almost invisible at first. Tiny markers. Lines. Signals. What is this? One of the council members asked. The human zoomed in. Closer. Closer. Now the details became clear. Trade routes. Energy relays. Communication hubs. Things that were not targets, but supported targets. These, the humans said, are the real battlefield. A ripple of confusion moved through the chamber. That makes no sense, one leader said. Those are not strategic targets. The human looked at him. That is why you're losing. The words were calm, but they landed hard. The council leader stepped forward slightly. Explain, he ordered. The human nodded once. Then he pointed to one system glowing faintly in blue. This system was attacked 3 cycles ago, he said. Several council members recognized it immediately. A mining colony. Destroyed quickly. Considered insignificant. It had no military value, one of them said. Correct, the human replied. Then he moved his hand. Lines appeared. Connections. That small system linked to 5 others. Energy flow. Resource transport. Hidden support. When it fell, the human continued. These systems weakened. More lines appeared. More connections. A chain reaction. One small loss, leading to 5 more. Then 10. Then more. The chamber grew still. Because now they could see it. The pattern. Not chaos. Not random destruction. Precision. Careful. Patient control. They are not attacking your strength, the human said.
He paused.
They are removing your future strength. A cold realization spread across the room. The Karen Empire was not just winning battles. They were shaping the war. One move at a time. Like a game. The council leader's voice was quieter now. How did we not see this? The human answered simply. Because you were too busy winning small fights. That answer stung. Because it was true. The council had celebrated victories. Defended key systems. Destroyed enemy fleets. But they had never looked beyond the moment. Never asked what came next. The human stepped closer to the center again. His presence now felt different. Not like a visitor. Like someone who belonged there. We learned this the hard way, he said. That caught their attention. Several leaders leaned forward. What do you mean? One asked. The human's eyes darkened slightly. For years, he said, we thought we were alone. A pause. We believed our world was safe. He looked up at the stars beyond the dome. But we were wrong. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the smallest movement seemed loud. We were not attacked directly, the human continued. Not at first. He raised his hand again. A new hologram appeared. Different from the others. Smaller. Focused. A single star system. Earth. Our satellites failed, he said. Then our outer stations. The image showed blinking points disappearing one by one. Supply ships vanished, he continued. Communication slowed. The council watched closely. This was not their war. This was something else. We thought it was accidents, the human said. A pause. Until it wasn't. The hologram zoomed out. The same pattern. The same slow tightening. Just like the Karen attacks. They tested us, the human said quietly. They studied us. A chill moved through the chamber. Because now the connection was clear. They didn't attack your fleets first, one council member whispered. The human nodded. They attacked everything around them. Silence.
Heavy.
Unavoidable. The council leader's voice returned, but it had changed. Less authority. More concern. You are saying, he said carefully, that the Karen Empire used the same method on your species. Yes. And you survived? The human looked at him. A small pause. Then, barely. That word carried weight. More than any long explanation. The council members shifted again. But this time, it was not arrogance. It was discomfort. Because if a young species had faced this, and survived, then maybe, just maybe, they understood something the council did not. One of the older leaders spoke again. Why didn't you tell us this before? He asked. The human's expression remained calm. Would you have listened? He replied. No one answered. Because they all knew the truth.
No.
They wouldn't have. The human stepped back slightly. giving the room space to think. To you, he said, this war is new.
A pause.
To us, it isn't. The council leader slowly sat back down, not as a sign of weakness, but as a sign of thought. Deep thought. The human continued. You're still reacting, he said. You wait for attacks, then respond. He shook his head slightly. That is not how you win. Another pause. You have to think ahead. He pointed at the map again. But not just one step. More lines appeared. Further.
Deeper.
Future paths. If you want to survive, he said, you need to see what comes next before it happens. The chamber remained silent. But now, something had changed. The human was no longer explaining. He was guiding. And the council was listening. For the first time since the war began, they were beginning to understand. And that understanding came from a species they once called weak. The human lowered his hand. The holograms slowly faded. Only the stars above remained. Cold. Distant. Watching. Then he spoke one final time. This is not just your war anymore, he said. A pause. It never was. No one argued. No one laughed. Because now they knew. The war had always been bigger than they thought. And the human was the first to truly see it. The chamber remained silent even after the holograms faded. No one rushed to speak. No one tried to argue. For the first time in many cycles, the Galactic Council was not reacting. They were thinking. At the center of the room, the human stood still, giving them time. He did not push. He did not demand. He knew they needed to reach the next step on their own. Finally, the council leader spoke. If what you say is true, he began slowly, then we are already behind. The human nodded. Yes, he said. You are. There was no hesitation in his voice. No attempt to soften the truth. That alone made several council members uneasy. One of the war commanders leaned forward, his sharp eyes locked on the human. Then tell us, he said, how do we fix it? The human took a small breath. This was the moment. Not a warning. Not a lesson. A solution. We don't fix it, he said. Confusion spread across the chamber. What do you mean? Another leader asked. The human stepped forward again, his boots echoing softly. We change it, he replied. A faint glow returned to the center as he raised his hand once more. A new hologram appeared. But this one was different. Cleaner. Simpler. Instead of hundreds of systems, only a few were highlighted. Red.
Blue.
And a new color, white. These are the key points, the human said. The council leaned in. Even the most powerful leaders were now focused. No pride. No arrogance. Only attention. You have been trying to defend everything, the human continued. That is your first mistake. Several council members reacted immediately. We cannot abandon our worlds, one of them said sharply. You already are, the human replied calmly. That stopped him. Because it was true. They were losing systems faster than they could protect them. The human pointed to one of the glowing red systems. This world falls, he said. Then he traced a line. And then this one. Another line. And then this. The pattern repeated.
Clear.
Unavoidable. You are spreading your strength too thin, he said. The council leader spoke again. Then what do you suggest? He asked. The human moved his hand. The map shifted again. Now most of the systems dimmed. Only a few remained bright.
White.
You choose what matters, the human said. A pause. You stop trying to save everything. The chamber grew tense again. This idea was dangerous. It meant sacrifice. It meant loss. We will lose worlds, one leader said quietly. The human nodded. Yes. No comfort. No false hope. Just truth. But you will win the war, he added. That changed everything. The room fell silent once more. Because now they understood the trade. Lose some to save all. The human continued. You focus your strength, he said, pointing to the white systems. These become your anchors. The hologram zoomed in. Massive defense lines formed around those systems. Fleet positions. Energy shields. Supply routes. All your power goes here, the human explained. You make these systems impossible to take. One of the council members frowned. And the rest, he asked. The human's expression didn't change. You let them go. A heavy silence followed. For species that ruled entire galaxies, this was almost unthinkable. But the human wasn't finished. That is only the first step, he said. The council leader leaned forward again. There is more. The human gave a small nod. Much more. He moved his hand again. New lines appeared. Not defensive this time. Offensive. Sharp. Precise. You stop reacting, he said. And you start controlling. The lines moved across the map, cutting through supply routes, isolating enemy systems, breaking connections. You don't fight their fleets, the human continued. You break what feeds them. The council watched in complete silence, because now the plan was clear, simple, but powerful. One of the commanders spoke, his voice lower now. This would weaken them, he said. The human nodded. Slowly, he replied. Then he looked directly at him. And then suddenly, that line sent a quiet chill through the chamber, because they understood what it meant. A slow collapse, followed by a final strike. The council leader stood again, this time not in dominance, but in focus. You are asking us to trust this plan, he said. The human shook his head slightly. No, he replied. I'm asking you to test it. That answer surprised them. Test it, one leader repeated. The human pointed to a small section of the map, a current battle zone. This system, he said. You are about to lose it. Several council members checked their data. He was right. The enemy fleet was already closing in. You have two choices, the human continued. He raised one hand. You fight the way you always have. Then his other hand. Or you follow my plan. A pause. And see what happens. The chamber grew tense again. This was no longer theory. This was real. Immediate. A decision had to be made. The council leader looked around at the others. For the first time, he was not giving orders. He was asking. What do we choose? He said. Some leaders hesitated. Others whispered among themselves. But slowly, something changed. They had seen the pattern. They had seen the truth. And now, they had a chance. A small one, but real. The council leader turned back to the human. If this fails, he said, your species will be held responsible. The human met his gaze without fear. If you do nothing, he replied, you won't have a species left to blame. Silence. Then, the council leader made his decision. Proceed, he said. Across the chamber, commands were sent. Fleets began to move. Not like before. Not scattered. Not reactive. But precise. Focused. Different. The human stepped back slightly, watching the map. Watching the lines shift. Watching the future begin to change. No one spoke to him now. No one questioned him. Because for the first time, the Galactic Council was following a human plan. And deep down, they all felt it. This moment, this single decision, might decide the entire war. The chamber was no longer a place of debate. It had become a war room. Every screen was active. Every system was alive with movement. Streams of data flowed through the air like light, shifting and updating every second. At the center, the holographic map had grown brighter, more detailed, more urgent. The system the human had pointed to was now under attack. A red wave was moving toward it. Fast. Relentless. The Karen fleet. They've accelerated, one of the council commanders said, his voice tight. They are moving faster than expected. The council leader stood still, watching the map closely. How long? He asked. Less than one cycle, came the reply. A ripple of tension moved through the chamber. That was not enough time. Not for their usual strategies. Not for reinforcement. Not for defense. But the human did not react with panic. He stepped forward again, his eyes locked on the incoming red wave. They're not faster, he said calmly. The council leader glanced at him. Explain. They're not faster, the human repeated. They're predictable. That word caught attention. Predictable? The Karen Empire was many things, but never predictable. The human raised his hand and zoomed in on the map. The enemy fleet split into smaller groups, then moved in coordinated paths. Precise. Efficient. Look closely, the human said. The council commanders focused. At first, it looked like a normal attack pattern.
Then, they saw it.
The timing, the spacing, the exact distance between fleet movements. A rhythm. They're following the same pattern, one commander whispered. The human nodded. Because they expect the same response. A quiet realization spread across the room. The Karen Empire wasn't just attacking. They were expecting reactions, planning around them,
Controlling them.
The human turned slightly. Which means, he said, we can break it. The council leader's voice sharpened.
How?
The human moved quickly now. His calm remained, but his actions became faster.
Precise.
Confident. Pull back the outer defense fleet, he said. A commander hesitated. That will leave the system exposed. Yes, the human replied. Silence. This was the hardest part. Letting go. Trusting something new. Do it, the council leader ordered. The command was sent. On the map, the outer fleet began to retreat. The red wave pushed forward faster. More aggressive. They're taking the bait, the human said. Bait? One of the leaders repeated. The human didn't answer. He was already moving to the next step. Shift energy from the secondary grid, he said. Redirect it to the inner defense ring. That will overload the system, a technician warned. For 10 seconds, the human replied. A pause. 10 seconds is enough. The council leader didn't hesitate this time. Do it. The map changed again. Energy surged inward. The system's core defenses began to glow brighter. Stronger, but unstable. The Karen fleet advanced. Confident. Unstoppable. They're entering range, a commander said. Wait, the human replied. The tension in the chamber became unbearable. Every second felt longer.
Slower.
The red wave moved closer. 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 Now, the human said. The command was executed. The inner defense ring activated. But not like before. Not scattered. Not reactive. All at once. A single, focused burst of energy exploded outward. On the map, the red wave flickered. Then broke. The front lines of the Karen fleet collapsed instantly.
Gone.
Destroyed before they could adjust. The chamber froze. No one spoke. No one moved. Because what they were seeing had never happened before. They lost formation, one commander said, disbelief in his voice. The human nodded. They rely on structure, he said. Break it and they fall apart. The remaining Karen ships began to scatter.
Confused.
Uncoordinated. We can push them back, another commander said quickly. The human shook his head.
No.
That answer shocked them. No, the council leader repeated. This is not the moment to chase, the human said.
He pointed at the map again.
They are already weakened. A pause. If you chase them now, you return to their game. Silence. Then, understanding.
Slow.
But clear. Hold position, the council leader ordered. The fleets stopped. They did not pursue. They did not react. They waited. For the first time in the war, they controlled the moment. The remaining Karen ships pulled back. Not in attack. Not in strength. But in retreat. A quiet one. Careful. Almost uncertain. They're leaving, a commander said. No one celebrated. Not yet. Because this wasn't a victory. It was something else.
Proof.
The chamber slowly filled with a different kind of energy. Not arrogance. Not fear. Something new. Respect. The council leader turned toward the human. His expression had changed.
Completely.
You were right, he said. The human didn't smile. Didn't react. He simply nodded once. This was only one battle, he said. A pause. The war is still far from over. The council leader stepped closer. But now we have a chance, he said. The human looked at the map again. At the shifting lines. At the changing future. Yes, he said quietly. For the first time you do. The chamber remained silent for a moment. Then one of the older council members spoke. His voice was no longer filled with doubt. What do you need? He asked. The question echoed. Simple, but powerful. The human finally allowed himself a small smile. Not of victory, but of progress. We continue, he said. He looked around the chamber. at every leader, every world, every power, and for the first time, they were all listening. Because now, he added, they know we understand them. A pause. And that makes us dangerous. Far away, on the edge of the map, the red systems flickered. Not advancing, not attacking, watching, learning, just like before. The war had not changed, but something else had. The balance. And it all started with one human. The chamber did not return to normal after the battle. It could not. Something had changed too deeply. The holographic map still floated at the center, but it no longer showed a slow collapse. The red zones had stopped expanding. Some had even begun to fade at the edges. For the first time in many cycles, the Galactic Council was not losing ground. But no one celebrated, because everyone understood one thing. This was only the beginning. The council leader stood quietly, his glowing eyes fixed on the shifting map. Around him, the other leaders watched in silence. No laughter, no arrogance, only focus and respect. At the center of it all stood the human, still alone,
Still calm.
but no longer ignored. You changed the outcome of that battle, the council leader said at last. His voice was steady, but it carried something new, recognition. The human didn't turn. It was already changing, he replied. A small pause. You just followed the right move. The council leader stepped down from his elevated position. That alone caused a quiet ripple in the chamber. He rarely left his place. It was a symbol of authority, power,
Distance.
but now he walked closer to the human. Not above him, beside him. You speak as if this war is a game, the leader said. The human glanced at him. In some ways it is, he answered. That response could have sounded arrogant, but it didn't, because now they had seen the truth behind it. The council leader folded his hands behind his back. And in this game, he said, you seem to know the rules better than we do. The human looked back at the map. No, he said quietly. I just learned them earlier. That answer stayed in the air. Heavy.
Real.
The chamber remained silent for a moment longer. Then another council member spoke. What happens next? She asked. Her voice was not demanding, not dismissive, just honest. The human raised his hand once more. The map shifted again. This time, it expanded, far beyond the current battle zone. More systems, more lines, more possibilities. The Karen Empire will adjust, he said. A pause. They always do. Several commanders nodded slowly. That much they knew. They've already started, the human continued.
He pointed toward the edge of the map.
New movements appeared.
Slower.
More careful. They're watching us now, he said. Another pause. Learning. The word made the chamber uneasy again, because it meant one thing. The next attack would be different, stronger, smarter. The council leader spoke again. Then we must act before they do, he said. The human shook his head. No, he replied. That answer surprised them. No, one leader repeated. We don't rush, the human said calmly. We prepare. He moved his hand again. The white systems, the key points, began to expand. More defenses. Stronger links. Better positioning. We secure our foundation, he explained. Then new lines appeared. Not defensive, but strategic. Reaching into enemy territory. Quiet.
Hidden.
And then the humans said, we move when it matters. The council watched closely. No one interrupted, because now every word carried weight. You are asking for patience, the council leader said. Yes. And trust. Yes. The leader studied him carefully. That is not something easily given. The human finally turned fully toward him. I know, he said. A pause. That's why I didn't ask. The chamber fell silent again, because now they understood something important. This human had never come here to request help. He came to change the outcome, with or without them. The council leader slowly nodded. Then he straightened, his full authority returning, but now it felt different.
Not distant.
Not cold. Focused. You have proven your understanding of this war, he said. A small pause. You have shown us a path we could not see. The other leaders watched closely. This moment mattered
Deeply.
What do you want? The council leader asked. The question echoed across the chamber. Simple.
Direct.
Final. The human didn't answer immediately. He looked around the room one last time. At every species. Every world. Every power. Then he spoke. We don't want protection, he said. The same words as before. But now they meant something different. Now they carried weight. We don't want resources, he continued. Another pause. We don't want control. The council listened carefully, waiting. Then the human took one step forward. We want a place, he said. A quiet ripple moved through the chamber. A place, one leader repeated. The human nodded. A seat at this table. Silence.
Deep.
Unbroken.
Because this was not a small request.
This was not a favor. This was a claim. The council leader's eyes narrowed slightly. You are asking to stand among us, he said. The human met his gaze. Yes. A pause. As equals. The word hung in the air. Heavy. Challenging. Unavoidable. Some leaders shifted in their seats. Others remained still. Thinking. Measuring. For cycles, the council had decided who belonged. Who mattered. Who had power.
And now,
a young species stood before them, not asking to join, but expecting it. The council leader spoke slowly. That is not a decision made lightly. The human gave a small nod. I know. Another pause. Then he added. That's why I didn't ask for it earlier. The chamber grew still again. Because now the meaning was clear. He had earned this moment. Step by step. Truth by truth. Action by action. The council leader looked around the chamber. At the other leaders. At their expressions. At their silence. Then he looked back at the human. You have changed the course of this war, he said. A pause. And perhaps the future of this council. The human said nothing. He didn't need to. The council leader took a breath. Then spoke the words that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity will be granted a provisional seat, he said. A quiet shock moved through the chamber. Your actions will determine its permanence. The human nodded once. That's enough. The council leader studied him one last time. You are not what we expected, he said. The human allowed himself a faint smile. No, he replied. We never are. A soft glow returned to the chamber as the map stabilized. The war was still there. Still dangerous. Still far from over. But now, it was different. Now humanity was part of it. Not as victims. Not as observers. But as players. And as the meeting came to an end, the human spoke one final time.
Calm. Clear.
Unshaken. We're not here to survive this war, he said. A pause. We're here to win it. The chamber remained silent. But no one doubted him anymore.